Today's conspiracy theories, tomorrow's headlines. Most are still asleep and I ain't talking about no bedtime. The truth is not a Google search, you need to get your head right. The Greek goddess of illusion was called Media and I'm not a coincidence theorist, I look for thread lines. Smashing every deadline, no longer smashing red wine. Though I can hear the bells chime, it feels like the end times. That probably should have been smashed on red wine. But the carnal mind is foolish, obey and end up ghoulish. Don't get used by instinct, take control and learn to use it. Make a load of earnest music, earn a few quid, learn a few tricks. Sure, the truth is persecuted, this whole world is pure abusive. Know a bit about everything and everything about nothing. Figured out my noggin while you picture out shopping. You sit about watching while I dish it out, stop it. I don't mean to sound cocky, I'm not even proud of it. It's a second itch to me just to be this out honest. I don't even need to sound honest, never been about profit. Everything but out on it, you can bet your house on it. Doubt I'll be out for the count when the sounds and I'm down for the beat, no beat down. I mean, how long's it been? Help me out. I've been the only one who's held me down. All in the mind, hell freeze now. Still sick with it, healthy how? Few bars down and the world freaked out. I don't reach out, I seek out to speak out. I'ma recount the reasons they beat out.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. It is November 2nd, and today we got some beautiful conversation for you, man. You know why? Because it deals with one of the elements of the world. We got fire, wind, light, water, earth, whichever way you look at it. Water is the topic today. It's powerful. We are made of 70% water. The earth is 79% water. Water. Gonna get it instilled into you today. All right, guys. So here's my guest, George Wiseman, the man who's created the technology with his hands that revolutionizes our body. I'm gonna go ahead and let him explain a little bit more about himself.
Wow. I really appreciate being on your show. I appreciate venues like this, especially where people have their mind open and are looking at the various things that are really going on. I really like your intro. It's well done. I have a little intro of my own that I usually say. What if there was a technology that helped people seldom get sick, helped bodies heal faster, saved 50% on fuel on average. You could make your own fuel and help plants grow between 3 times and 10 times faster. And I happen to see that you like having plants that grow. So that's a good thing for this venue. And interestingly enough, when you get into the alchemy and all of that, this technology combines everything. You've got your wind, water, fire, earth, all combined in this one technology by the time you look at it all and start to implement it. So that's what we'll be talking about today, is a technology that can do all of that, depending on how you manipulate it. And everything can be done at home. People can do all this stuff at home.
And
so,
for the intro, let's just go ahead and preface this. This technology is an open technology. This technology wouldn't be something that's pushed down to the side. I know that in China and Japan that they use this type of technology currently in their malls. I believe I've seen that on one of your podcasts. And this technology isn't a shunned technology. Am I correct?
It isn't really suppressed like a lot of other like fuel saver technologies have been really suppressed. There's a lot of cancer curing technologies that have been suppressed. There's a lot of free energy technologies that have been suppressed. I happen to be a fuel saving expert and an alternative energy inventor. In fact, I got up to get my little, when I saw your intro, I got up to get my little paper. I have just my latest gravity wheel that I'm working on. So
that's awesome.
A lot of these technologies do exist and have been suppressed. Like we could have abundant free energy right now. There's everything, our whole civilization, our lives, everything would be completely different if it wasn't for greedy interests trying to just make money and and at this point they don't even need any more money. What they're looking for is power. But the
Control.
Brown's gas, for some reason, I don't know why yet, isn't one of these suppressed technologies. And even though it has been patented, the first what we call Brown's gas patents were back in 1960 by a fellow from Phoenix, Arizona, called William Rhodes. He was literally a rocket scientist and developed what he called the single ducted gas for a client that he needed to do, but he patented it himself, and those patents were based on Yule Brown based his patents off William Rhodes's work, and then everything has proceeded from there. So we have a situation where people can do amazing things with this gas at home, and it's absolutely not patented. In fact, not only have I not patented it, I have superior technology to all the patents that have existed before, and I'm freely making it available. Like, anybody can duplicate the work that I've already done, my research, by simply buying my books and building their own electrolyzers. And then from there on, you can buy kits and things like that. Now, often what I do then is I put on the Brown's gas cannulas, so I'm actually inhaling the Brown's gas even as we're having this particular conversation. That's nice.
I'm inhaling my own type of gas over here. So yeah, I'm in the West Coast, Washington State, and we had one of the first medical programs kick off, 8 years ago, and so I've just been fascinated. I mean, the recreational market kicked off right after, and it's a healer. This is an earth healer. I'm full into the CBD system on our body, and yeah, this is one of the gases right here.
Absolutely. And that was a suppressed technology, my goodness gracious, for many decades.
It was for 100 years.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's finally coming out from under the covers and having it as a class 1 drug. Like, what?
Well, I think that's just on the spiritual aspect. They realize that it hits straight to the spirit, and they're like, well, we don't want them to do, activate their spirit. We're going to go ahead and label it the worst of the worst.
Yeah, even though it doesn't qualify in any condition under any of that. Okay, so Brown's gas is what I'm talking about today, and it's just one line of research, but it turns out that it's something that has been, unless we want to talk about something else too, like if there was anything that you saw that was of interest, we can certainly touch on those.
Oh no, this Brown's gas machine, this is important to see. Like, I live in Washington State, right? So this place has been flooded with Bill Gates contamination from the planes and with the Boeings, the military, these GMOs, these freaking vaccinations, everything. My whole city and state is like flooded, and I would like them to heal. I'm a big proponent in natural healing, holistic healing. I work out, I exercise, I do yoga, stretch, plant medicine. I grow my own food now, and now I'm trying to get a little bit more technical with this podcast and, show some more advancements, because, everybody knows about supplements and working out, but nobody really knows about these advanced technologies. And this is it right here, man. You see, yes, comparing it to like the Bosnian pyramid, how it has healing technology currently in it. And it's speculated that most of the pyramids around the world were healing technologies. Like, I love it, because I know that it's true. I know it's powerful. I know it's potent, and it will live on.
Yes. And hydrogen for health was actually a known thing almost 200 years ago. There's some paperwork that I saw at one point. I don't have my fingers on it right now, but over 200 years ago, they actually were using or experimenting with hydrogen for health. And then it kind of got forgotten, and then allopathic medicine came up, and that sort of thing is kind of ignored. So it isn't new. It's kind of being rediscovered, and it's astonishing. And then of course there's the situation of Brown's gas, where it isn't just hydrogen. You also have an additional gas that we call electrically expanded water. It was a negatively charged gaseous plasma form of water, and so that gas, all these three gases come out. You got your hydrogen, your oxygen, and your what I call EXW coming out, all the same hose. And when you inhale it like this, amazing things happen in people's body. Now, it depends on the people. For example, the first time I inhaled it 15 minutes about 6:30 at night. I didn't sleep that night. I was absolutely wide awake and alert all night. I it I was always thinking I was going to fall asleep. I laid there, but I didn't. And
That
it
sounds
wasn't
like
like
the
having a
first time.
coffee buzz. It was just being alert.
That sounds like the first time I tried Purple Power C60. I took a whole drop of that, and dude, the oxidation, the cellular regeneration just kept me up all night. I was like, "What is this?" I'm, I can relate.
And then my current wife, when she inhaled for 15 minutes at about 6:30 at night, she had the best night's sleep she could remember. So, as an example, exactly the opposite in the same household. There's no real knowing what the body needs when it gets its nutrition, and you're going to probably notice positive, or what I call a negative weirdness. Like there's some people that'll get a headache, and that means that the body is trying to heal something in the head. So obviously you want to just cut back, but you don't want to actually stop because you do want to get healed, and the body is trying to address that kind of thing. So, but in your particular case, since you do grow your own food, it's really important to bubble the water that's being fed to the plants, along with the other nutrients. You'll be adding the hydrogen and the electrically expanded water that the plants just flourish with. So you'll love them. They grow faster. The food is rich in nutrients.
So, is this what you do with your garden?
Um, no, actually, I don't have a garden right now.
Oh, well,
which I'm embarrassed to admit, and
it's all right. Honestly, I didn't have a garden until 3 years ago.
Yes,
I didn't even eat real food until 3 years ago either, man. I was eating Dr. Pepper and Jack in the Box, and oh man.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
You're lucky that you're young enough that your body will probably heal a lot of
Oh
that.
yeah, dude. I'm kicking my body's ass at the gym in order to heal.
That's good.
So you said that this works on plants.
Yes.
And you have okay.
I have on my website a page called Plants Don't Lie. So
don't.
plants with an S don't lie, and people will be able to see where orchards and hydroponic setups and even fish like aquaponics, when the people bubbled the brown gas in the water that the fish were inhaling and breathing in, the fish grew 3 times faster. So
that's awesome.
People that are growing their own food with aquaponics, or if you're growing exotic species like koi or something, where you can sell them, the faster they grow, the more money you make. This is all good stuff as far as that's concerned. But
everything with water might just be boosted with this. If I give this water to my dog, she will be healthier.
Yes. The only unfortunate thing is that if you have it in an open container, then it doesn't take very long for the hydrogen to kind of dissipate out of the container, like the water bowl or something. So whatever your dog drinks right away would help, but if it waits a couple hours, then it's just normal water.
Yeah, okay.
Now, a little hint and a tip though is you can make this water and then freeze it. And when you freeze it, it holds the gas in the ice cubes. So then
you can make ice cream.
Ice cubes in the dog's water or the cat's water, then it gradually releases into the water. That's a little tip that helps.
So you can make ice cream and slushies and you know those frozen goods, right? You could freeze the water that's already electrically charged and stuff, and then make some powerful ice cream, include it with some CBD oil, hydrogen rich. Oh my god, dude! This is amazing technology.
Right, exactly.
And when we start getting into these alchemical forms, these powerful combinations like just come to us. You know, it's natural for us to see these things.
And the nice thing about this is it's really simple as well. Like it isn't complicated. You don't have to have a degree in chemistry to do these things. Just normal household everything.
Because it's just water. We're not mixing all these crazy oil solutions and
Exactly. Okay, so a quick history. I grew up on a cattle ranch, and we were way back in the bush without electricity or running water or anything. We chopped firewood to cook our food with in a big wood cook stove that also had a big tank on the side, a reservoir that the water, any hot water we wanted was got from there. We would bathe in a tin tub. You'd set out in the living room, and then you'd pour the water into it and bathe in the and in the wintertime, we would just grab snow from outside, buckets of snow, and come and pour it into the reservoir, and it'd melt, and that's how we'd get our hot water. And in the
Ain't nothing
summer, we
fresher than
would
that.
go, yeah, in the summer we'd go down to the lake and just dip barrels, dip water out of the lake and fill barrels of water to bring back up to the ranch house. So that was our water and our heat and our cooking, and it was like oil lamps. We had no electricity for lights and stuff. We were so far out we didn't even get radio, definitely no TV. But so it was quiet, interesting life as I was growing up. Now I was aware of indoor plumbing and electricity because the school we went to, of course, it was a small school, only went to grade 10 at that, and then we had to board out in town, which was 36 miles away to get the to go to high school. But obviously they had running hot and cold water and electricity. And when I left the ranch, I decided I'd never be without that again. So I have an RV, for example. So when I go back to the ranch these days, I bring my own toilet and electricity with me.
You never really lost that old schoolness, and honestly, once
No,
you get in
no.
touch with nature and learning how to do things with yourself, it sticks forever.
Yes. So it was a real MacGyver kind of a situation back on the ranch because we didn't have carpenters or plumbers or electricians or any of the infrastructure that people are used to in the town. If something needed to be done, like veterinary work or medical emergencies, we did it ourselves, or it didn't get done. It was as simple as that. So we learned how to do construction and operate heavy equipment and all the things that needed to be done just because we had to do it. So I became essentially a jack of all trades growing up the way that I did. And when I left the ranch, I needed to figure out a way to make a living. One way I tried was prospecting, and I did find some stuff, but that was a lot of hard work. I thought, this is so much hard work, I might as well be back on the ranch. And I decided I'd try something with a little more intellectual. So I decided to be an inventor. And since I knew enough about mechanics and I had accidentally discovered ways of increasing fuel mileage, which as I learned more, I learned why. And
How did you
and,
accidentally what accidentally? Yeah, okay, accidents just happen all the time, and we produce great results. Well, so can we
Yes.
speak a little about that?
Okay, I'll try to make it quick.
It's all right.
Okay, my dad, I worked all summer to get a pickup truck so I could drive back and forth to town to school. And like I said, it was 36 miles away. It's not something you want to do on horseback or a bicycle. So I found this nice little Nova. I found several different cars that I wanted Dad to buy because as a farm boy, I had no money.
My dad was actually a car collector, so yeah, he had all them cars. I seen this magazine, and he pulled out, it was like page after page after page. He would repair them and sell them, and stuff. And he had all the cars, man. Those days, the cars were nice. Real metal, real shiny,
metal,
real
heavy metal. Yeah, it was good vehicles. So in any case, Dad said no, and then he was at a farm auction, and there was this stock rack that he wanted to buy, but he had no way of getting it home on the vehicle he happened to have with us. So he looked over at a field, this rusty old pickup out in the field, 1966 Ford pickup, and said, "Okay, how would you like to have that one?" And by this time, I said yes to anything. So I said yes to that old pickup truck, which broke down even on the way home.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's how it goes. But he said, "This is the deal. I'll pay as much as it takes to fix the truck up the first time, and then you're on your own." And so as I was fixing it up, it turned out that there were some things that were happening in the truck that I didn't know about. Now, it was a neighboring ranch. It was the Giesbrick Ranch. And so it was the Giesbrick brothers had owned this pickup truck, and they laughed till they just about fell on the ground when they learned that I had bought, or that was going to be my pickup truck, because they had thrashed this truck. They had seriously thrashed the truck. But it was a Ford 252 engine in it, and they'd also put in a high-speed rear end off some other vehicle. I don't know what it was, but it had about a 2-to-1 gear ratio, which meant every time the engine turned over twice, the wheels went one time round. So that was a much higher, like almost double the the ratio, like usually it's a 4-to-1 or something like that. So the what would happen is at a lower RPM, you'd be going faster, and that's what they were trying to do, is make the vehicle go as fast as they could.
All
Well, it
right.
turns out when I
Did it
went
work?
to school, mechanics in high school, they allowed you to rebuild your own engine. And I brought in this old pickup truck, which incidentally was burning so much oil. It was like I burned a gallon of oil a day because and when I drive to school, every dip in the road, there'd be a cloud of smoke just kind of hang in the little gullies. So people started going to work a half hour earlier so that they would be not going through all my smoke.
Avoiding the smoke. It was that smoggy. Oh man.
So in any case, I finally got the truck into the mechanics in school and took the engine out, and the mechanics teacher wanted that engine so badly because it was so wrong. Like there were so many things wrong with that engine. The pistons were warped, for example, one place that even though the rings were broken into half-inch sections, there was one place where the ring grooves, the rings, those half-inch sections, the ring grooves were so warped that there were 4 of those half-inch sections stacked one on top of another. And the engine had a knock, is because one of the connecting rod bearings had been gone, and so the piston was slapping the head. And there's just a whole bunch of things wrong with the engine that he wanted to be able to show in his class. So he traded me for a 361, which was the industrial version of the 360 of the Ford, which had a 9-quart oil pan. And a whole bunch of other things, a lot of torque. It had a lot of torque, and that happened to also have something called the 2150 carburetor, Motorcraft carburetor on it. And that combination of that carburetor, that engine with a lot of torque, and that high-speed rear end, made that truck go down the road at 50 miles an hour at about 1,200 RPM. So it was just over idle. It was going down the road at that speed, and then this is where now that just accidentally put a drivetrain in effect that could get high mileage. But then the last thing was that 2150 carburetor was I accidentally hooked up the vacuum hoses in a different way than it was supposed to be, and it caused a slight vacuum to be formed on the float bowl in the carburetor. And when that happened, it held back fuel. So less fuel was going into the engine, but at the same time, it enhanced the emulsification action of the air bleeds of the carburetor. And what that meant is the fuel that was spraying into the Venturi was a fog, a really thin, very small molecules or droplets fog. So more of it evaporated. And one of the things you'll start to learn really fast if you start looking into fuel savings is that only gasoline vapors burn. Very important point. So whatever fuel is vapor when the spark plug fires is the only fuel that powers your engine. Any fuel that is liquid at that point does vaporize after that, turn into vapor during the combustion, mix with air, and then combust. But that takes about 25 milliseconds. You only have about 3 to 7 milliseconds from the time the spark plug fires to the time the piston is moving faster than the speed of the combustion of the fuel. So you don't get any power from the liquid portion of the fuel. So by
in perspective, is gas as equal as hemp oil from back in the day when they would burn in the combust in the engines and they would
repeat that, gas.
So when they used hemp oil of Tom Ford in one of his first cars, how does that compare? Do you have any?
Yeah, that would be more like diesel.
Okay, so hemp burns like diesel.
Yeah, that would be a different combustion, slightly different. It didn't use a spark plug; it used compression to ignite it, I would imagine, because that goes in more into the vegetable oil, fuel oil type of thing, and that's fine. There's fuel savers for that as well. And again, the same situation. It actually has to be a vapor before it will combust. If you have a container of gasoline and you throw a match in it, only the vapors rising off the surface of the gasoline that are in contact with air will burn. The actual pool of gasoline underneath won't burn. Okay. So so what is happening is I ended up with these very small fuel droplets, which had a much greater surface area to the air than a big fuel droplet, and so more of the fuel evaporated. Most of the old carburation systems and even the fuel injection systems that are out there now depend on evaporation to get the vapor. So more of the fuel that I was spraying in turned to vapor, but I was putting in less fuel altogether. So I ended up getting a fuel economy gain. I was getting approximately 36 miles to the gallon at 50 miles an hour.
For back then, oh my God.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
So then,
amazing,
and
dude.
even
Congrats.
at 90 miles an hour, I would still be getting 27 miles to the gallon.
Just saving money. Just
Well, it was
honestly,
very
man,
good because
flying
back in those,
through.
yeah. So eventually, I discovered this trick, if you will, this carburetor tuning technique, where I'd accidentally put the vacuum lines wrong on the carburetor, and then I was able to duplicate it on other carburetors, and many carburetors at that point then doubled their fuel mileage, a minimum of 25% gain, and then doubled their fuel mileage. So I was able to start my inventing business with this carburetor enhancer technique, is what I called it, and and I've been self-employed ever since.
Hey, congratulations. Now, that's interesting. I see, all the time people try to create their own engines, it kind of goes wrong. But no, you really I didn't really you didn't really create your own engine, but you did some very detailed things to really kind of create your own piece. Now that's its own accomplishment, honestly.
Yeah, the thing about an inventor is you have to know what's really going on. So a lot of mechanics didn't even know. Like I went to mechanic school retroactively. I'm a certified automotive technician, and they don't teach this stuff. They
No, they
teach
don't.
how to rebuild a carburetor, but they don't teach you really why and how combustion works. Now, I ended up becoming a combustion engineer as well, and did a lot of other things. Like I got blasting certification, and anytime I've needed to know something, I've just gone out and learned it and got certified in it, and so I'm really a jack of all trades. But in any case, that's that. My point was, you have to really know what's going on to be an inventor. You can't go by what they teach you in the books necessarily, because you can't improve upon something if you don't know or don't assume, let's say, that something can be improved upon. Now, the other backside of that is that 99% of the time I'm wrong. You have to really, if you're an inventor, you have to be used to getting wrong a lot, being wrong a lot. But you learn from your mistakes, like Thomas Edison did when he tried 4,000 different ways to make a better light bulb. Uh, you learn from your mistakes, and then you can eventually make that 1% of time. You can now be better than you were. You know how to do something that nobody else can do, and then you can capitalize on that. So if you're good with being wrong 99% of the time, you're halfway to being an inventor.
Yeah, I agree. Literally, you can invent so many things, and it's really when you give up is the only time you ever fail. It's
Mm,
if you just keep on doing it every day, just invent something new. You're gonna find success eventually.
yes,
You just
yes,
don't give
you're
up.
absolutely right. And I remember inventing so many things, like a flashlight that could see around corners, because when I was doing mechanics work, I needed to be able to look at the backside of a distributor, for example, to look at the serial number or things like that. So I invented this flashlight that I could look at the back of distributor, and then I found it on the shelf. There's so many things I invented that I didn't know had already been invented, but eventually I did start inventing things that weren't on the shelf, or improving things that were on the shelf, because there's often something you can do about that. A lot of my most successful inventions were remakes of things that were developed 100 years ago, but they didn't have the technology or the materials or something to
The
make it even better.
updated, yeah, the updated feel with modern society.
Yes. So at that point, I realized that patenting really wasn't going to help me. I went to the
Mm.
patent office to research the fuel savers, for example, and I found in 10 years, because I did that in about 1985, 10 years back to 1975, I discovered 5,000 fuel saver patents just in those 10 years,
It's a lot.
not one of which was on the market. Yeah.
Now, what type of technologies did these include? Is it different from yours?
Actually, many of them were similar to mine.
Hmm.
And so a lot of this stuff had already been patented, but had been suppressed. And I had slightly different variations on the way I did things. But what I decided to do instead was to write a book and teach people how to do this, because I was making a good living installing fuel savers, but I'm only one man. And I wanted my technology to be out there and help as many other people as possible. So I wrote instruction manuals on how to do it. And then I sold those manuals by mail order. Back in those days, they didn't have the internet. And then eventually I upgraded to PDFs, and when I got on the internet and started to sell my books online as well. But in any case, I've helped hundreds of thousands of people get better fuel mileage because I was able to sell the information rather than necessarily the fuel saver itself. And no patent necessary.
All
Yeah.
right. I mean,
And then
the only other type of hydrogen technology I know of is deuterium. This the new fusion hydrogen technology that they're cooking up at like a million degrees Celsius. That they're using for fusion, like the new fusion from water. It's called deuterium. There's some companies
yeah,
working on it.
deuterium is a hydrogen that has an extra proton, so it becomes what's called heavy water. And most of the time, what they're trying to do is get rid of the deuterium. Uh, uh, like when you're doing a nuclear reaction, deuterium helps dampen the reaction, and it does a similar thing in your bodies. It actually slows your metabolism. So people who are drinking a lot of water that has deuterium in it uh, uh, end up having slow metabolism. So if they start to drinking deuterium depleted water, because your body does get rid of the deuterium over time, but if you're taking in more than you're getting rid of, then you start to get too much in your body. So if you drink deuterium depleted water, then your body starts to wake up, become more healthful, and
And how
unfortunately,
would we know which is which?
yeah, it obviously in a chemistry lab they can figure out how much deuterium is in water, and deuterium is naturally in water at about 1 to 5,000 parts per million. So for every 5,000 molecules of water, there's a molecule of deuterium, and they call that D2 instead of H2, uh, because the deuterium is just a hydrogen atom with an extra proton. So it makes it a heavy hydrogen, and so they call that deuterium instead of hydrogen.
And
Yeah.
so, deuterium would be rich in our normal public waters, and it would not be found in mountain water, or how?
In normal river and lake waters, it'd be about 1 to 5,000. In city water, it becomes a lot more dense. I don't know what it is, but there's a lot more deuterium in tap water than there is in natural, like spring water or river. Or
So drinking natural and clean water goes more than just the mineral content. Like there's some, heavy heavy hydrogen into it. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Thanks for putting that on.
we
Yeah,
don't want the
all I
heavy
knew about
hydrogen.
deuterium was about, these companies. I actually covered it on one of my podcast episodes way back. And they just made some type of fusion energy out of it. And yeah, okay. Now I have to understand what I'm drinking at all times. Literally, that's why they say don't use city water.
Yes, deuterium would be a better substance for fusion than regular light hydrogen because of that extra proton. You get a lot more energy out of it when you're doing your fusion. That's true in nuclear reactions and stuff. So that's good. So the next thing I got into was the Brown's gas when I was doing my inventing, because I'm in fuel saving. And one of the things that you could do with the Brown's gas was to increase the efficiency of burning carbon-based fuels. The reason being is that the Brown's gas helps break apart the atomic bonds. So a hydrocarbon fuel has carbons and hydrogens, and the carbon and hydrogens are connected together with this very strong atomic bond that must be broken before the hydrogens can mix with oxygen and make water, and the carbons can mix with oxygen and make carbon dioxide. So water and carbon dioxides are the exhaust of a hydrocarbon flame. Okay, but that bond has to be broken first. And to do that, they call that self-propagation. It's called endothermic energy, the energy you're putting in to break apart those bonds. Well, it turns out if you put Brown's gas in, just a little tiny bit of Brown's gas in with the fuel, those bonds get broken apart a lot easier. And therefore, the amount of exothermic energy you have is more, because to self-propagate, the flame has to take some of the excess heat or exothermic energy and use it to break apart those bonds. And as soon as they break apart the bonds, then they can recombine and it makes heat. So the less heat that you have to take from the output to keep the flame self-propagating, the more heat that you have for using elsewhere. And the internal combustion engine is a heat engine. The more heat you get from the fuel, the farther you go on a gallon of gas. So the Brown's gas was getting about a 25% gain. And at that point, carburetors were going away, and it was mostly going into fuel injection. So my carburetor enhancer doesn't work on fuel injected vehicles. So the Brown's gas with what I call the Hyzor technology saved me in my business for fuel saving. And I see a question, is H3O2 good to drink more than H2O?
Yes, from Mr. Ghetto Bedroom Records.
That's good. H3O2 is something that Professor Gerald Pollack calls easy water, which is actually a gel. It's not water. And H3O2 is not water either, because it's H3O2, not H2O. H2O is water. Like, somebody wouldn't expect H2O2, which is hydrogen peroxide, to be water, and you wouldn't drink hydrogen peroxide. But H3O2 is a gel. It's made from water. When water is associated with a hydrophilic, in other words, water-loving surface, it spontaneously forms this H3O2 negative. It's negatively charged gel-like substance. And yes, it's absolutely good to drink, like if it's mixed in with the water that you're drinking, which incidentally, when you do the Brown's gas, which has Brown's gas is hydrogen, oxygen, and electrically expanded water. I'll get into that in just a little bit more. But the electrically expanded water portion is water that has soaked up electrons to the point where it's become a gaseous form of water that is not water vapor or steam. And when you put this in with the water, it forms more H3O2. So whatever hydrophilic surface you have that's forming the H3O2, when you put in the Brown's gas, you'll get a thicker layer of the H3O2. And if that gets put into the water through agitation or whatever, comes off the surface that is attached to, then it is healthy. You need H3O2 in your body. Jerry Pollack should get a Nobel Prize for this. This is more important than the discovery of dynamite, more important than the discovery of antibiotics. This H3O2 is astonishing. And so if you get a chance to go and research easy, or what's called exclusion zone water, with Gerald Pollack, Professor Gerald Pollack, you'll discover there's lots of videos online and things like that where you can, and he sells a book called The Fourth Phase of Water. It isn't actually the fourth phase of water. It is a phase that water forms, but it's more like a gel, and it's not H2O. In any case, but that's what the book is called, and you'll start to understand what's going on. And just really quickly in our own bodies, just to give you an idea what's going on, and you can look for this as you do your research. Every surface inside our body is covered with this H3O2, because the proteins are hydrophilic, and the water that's in your blood then forms this layer of H3O2, which happens to be very slippery. So you can imagine all your arteries, veins, and capillaries have this coating on the inside of them, and all your red blood cells have this coating on the outside of them. And because it's negatively charged, when the red blood cell tries to go through a capillary, for example, now when going through the veins and arteries, there's no big deal because there's lots of room, lots of elbow room. But capillaries are actually about half the size of the red blood cell. So the red blood cell has to, if you look at videos online, you'll see the red blood cell has to squish itself down into a sausage shape to squeeze through these little tiny capillaries. And
like a wormhole.
They're just like a big old fat worm trying to go through a little tiny wormhole.
Well, like
So in
a
any case,
spaceship going through a wormhole too. It just kind of gets longer for a second, then
oh yes, yes, yes. You get that effect from the light and yes, I understand. Yes, I got it.
yeah.
I was thinking of a different wormhole. I have a degree in agriculture farm management. So when I think of
I'm a little bit into
you're the
UFOs
minor in
and
worms.
aliens.
So when you think when
Hey,
you talk
that's
wormhole, my mind
fascinating.
automatically goes underground,
So
not
you
into
know about
space.
soil health too.
Yes.
That's
So
awesome.
in
We'll have
any
to have another
case,
conversation later on that, or
if
whatever
we
you know.
didn't have this H3O2 in our system, the friction of the red blood cell trying to go through a capillary would stop. There would be no amount of pressure the heart could generate that could have blood flow in our veins or in our capillaries. And it turns out an additional thing happens. The capillaries themselves generate flow. So, because when you get this hydrophilic surface on the inside of a tube, it actually causes a flow of these red blood cells or microspheres or something. This is in addition to the heart pumping. And when you think about it, anybody who understands fluid dynamics knows that any fluid will take the path of least resistance. So how does the body make sure that every single capillary everywhere into your extremities, into your outer layer of your ear gets exactly the same blood flow as the ones that are close to the heart? The reason is because every one of those capillaries acts like a way of pumping the blood as well. So all the heart has to do is get the blood to the places where the capillaries take over, get it to the other side, and then the heart vacuums it back to the main pump. So it's very important. This H3O2 is absolutely vital to life as we know it, and the Brown's gas increases the H3O2 that's in our body. Because
Mr. Ghetto Bedroom Records, you won the question of the day. That's the
good
number one
job.
question. Hey, it's like you're in the ether too, man. You're
Yes.
floating through the ether with us, hitting the high points.
Yes, yes, exactly. So, what is Brown's gas? Electrolyzers that split water have been around for 175 years or more. Back in Michael Faraday's day, he even came up with the equations. They call them the Faraday equations, so that they would know if you put a certain amount of electricity in water, you would get a certain amount of gas formed. Well, it turns and the Faraday electrolyzers would have a membrane in the middle of them so that it would keep the gases of hydrogen and the gases of oxygen separated from each other, and the hydrogen go out one tube and the oxygen would go out another tube. That was a Faraday electrolyzer for 150 years. Well, back in the 60s, William Rhodes invented a single ducted gas, and what he was doing is making a combustible gas because in the end he wanted to have the hydrogen and oxygen mixed together anyway. So he thought, why bother separating them? And so he didn't have a membrane in the middle. And then some interesting things happened that no one had noticed before. Now, it took a few decades to kind of get an idea of what was being noticed. And I did make acquaintance with William Rhodes, and we had good conversations before he passed on off this earthly plane. And so it turns out that something called an electron bridge forms when you don't have a membrane between the anode, which is making the oxygen, and the cathode, which is making the hydrogen. And as the electrons are going from the cathode to the anode through the fluid across this electron bridge, some of the electrons get stuffed into water molecules. The water molecules soak them up like a sponge soaks up water until the water molecule becomes so saturated with this energy that it becomes a gaseous form of water that is not water vapor or steam. It's a negatively charged plasma, which is the actual fourth state of water. So of matter, if you will, or water. So you have your solid, which is ice, your liquid, which is water, your gas, which is water vapor or steam, and then you have your plasma, which is the electrically expanded water. Okay. So that is Brown's gas. All of these gases, the hydrogen, oxygen, and electrically expanded water, are all coming out the same hose, and amazing things happen with this gas. Now, back in the day, I was using it to enhance combustion of internal combustion engines, and I was using it also as an alternative for acetylene if you make enough of it, you can use it as, instead of acetylene, in a torch. So at that point, we could cut steel 30% faster using 30% less oxygen than you could with a normal acetylene torch. And the cuts were very laser-like, and you could cut thicker metal with a smaller torch tip. It was just amazing gas for cutting metals and also for welding, aluminum and brazing and sintering and a lot of other things. So I was doing this and selling these machines, and one of my water torch customers decided to, for God only knows what reason, I have no idea how he thought of it, but he took and bubbled the Brown's gas in water and applied it on a cotton ball that he soaked, and put it on a melanoma on his forehead. And he kept soaking this cotton ball with the Brown's gas bubbled water, and in 3 weeks' time, the melanoma was gone. Now, this has since been duplicated elsewhere, and I have pictures of that. If you go to the eagle-research.life website, so eagle like the bird, -mark research.life, LIFE website, and go into the testimonial studies section, you'll see the pictures of a guy who had a cancer on his head that they put a shower cap on, and then just put the gas up into the shower cap, and they did it several times a day for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and it was gone. Like, the skin was like babies. You could see it was just barely anything that could have been. It was healed. So
this would work with tumors too, I'm supposing.
Yes. So when they're doing tumors, there's quite a few studies out there now that have shown that the Brown's gas specifically and only have mitigated cancer of all different kinds. But if you go,
this is as powerful as CBD THC oil. Yes.
So and another
combining
thing is the
both.
CBD oil helps get rid of inflammation, which is one of the things that exacerbates any illness. And the Brown's gas does the same thing. So the two of them work really well together. It's another thing.
You're at a very high healthy rate at that point.
Yes. So in any case, this guy in 1996 learned that the Brown's gas could be used for curing a melanoma on his forehead. I did not believe him. I did, however, like, I was doing mail order business, so I sent out in one of my mailings, I sent out and said, hey, possibly Brown's gas can be used for health purposes, and I explained what happened, and a whole lot of people started to get back to me with testimonials, to the point where they convinced me to bubble the water and drink the water myself in 2005, 9 years after the first guy told me that it was good for health purposes. So in any case,
you some time.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean, with that type of technology, though, you really never know. You're like, this is powerful. Maybe a little bit too powerful for me. I don't know.
I was used to thinking of it as a torch fuel gas or a combustion gas in an internal combustion engine. I wouldn't consume gasoline. I didn't think, consuming this perfectly natural nutrition. Our bodies are 62% hydrogen by volume.
I was off by 8%.
24% oxygen, 12% carbon, and 2% everything else. So our most important macronutrient turns out to be hydrogen. Who knew, right? And we only get our hydrogen from our food. Only today, most people are hydrogen deficient. They're not getting the hydrogen they need from the food because their digestive system.
If we look in the ingredients, we see dehydrated onion, dehydrated garlic, dehydrated this, dehydrated that. It says it right there, dehydrated.
Yes, that's true. But the main reason is because of the bacteria that are supposed to break the carbons. Remember I talked about those those atomic bonds between the carbon and hydrogen? Well, our hydrocarbon fuel, our food and our fuel, but our food has those bonds as well. So we need to break those apart. And we start our digestive system in our mouth as we chew or masticate our food and put in the enzymes in there. and then we go through an acid bath in our tummy and in the small intestines. We've got our bile and various things that are happening, a microbiome. But our actual finish of the digestion doesn't happen until our large intestine and our colon. Just before the food is exiting our body, there's supposed to be specialized bacteria there that finish breaking the carbons off from the hydrogens once they have all these enzymes and catalysts and everything to help them do that, to break those bonds. And then the hydrogen goes directly into your bloodstream. And that's how we get our hydrogen normally, from our food. But
this is a quick question. I heard something about the Japanese culture. They don't drink water when they eat. Is there something that has to do with what you're saying in their own mouth, like that they're allowing?
Yeah, the idea is to drink the water about 20 minutes to a half an hour before you eat. And then that gets the body ready to do all these things of putting in the acid and digestion and everything that you need. So anything that needs the hydration for your body to digest your food needs to have the water first, and then you eat, and you can keep it pretty concentrated. If you drink while you eat, you're just kind of diluting the mixture, and so your digestion won't necessarily be as complete or as soon. That's a good point. So in any case, so what happens is we do things like glyphosate and artificial sweeteners and antibiotics. Antibiotics kill the good bacteria as well as the bad bacteria. And nothing wrong with antibiotics, are great, but now we've killed the bacteria that are making the hydrogen we need for our nutrition. And when you're hydrogen deficient, your body starts to shut down. And what happens is the body knows how to stay alive. So, for example, if you're out and you're freezing in the cold, your body will shut down blood flow to your extremities to preserve core temperature. So that's an example of the body staying alive. Well, if you're hydrogen deficient, the body starts shutting off things that use hydrogen. The first thing that shuts off is the regeneration system. So instead of, if you get a cut, you'll get a scar, which is just a patch on the skin. So instead of having the body actually heal the skin, it just patches it. So if you're still hydrogen deficient, then the body starts shutting off immune systems. So people get sick easier and sick of a lot more different things. And the allergies happen and asthmas and things because the immune systems have been shut down. And the body's tolerance to anything gets depleted. And then if you're still deficient in hydrogen, your organs start to fail and you die. So the idea is with the hydrogen supplementation, you get the your body starts to come alive. Your organs heal. Like I had a heart murmur for 50 years, and that is healed. Like it's medically proven. I no longer have a heart murmur. So that was a bad or a weak valve in my heart.
God bless.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
Yes, that was a nice surprise.
No more visit to the doctor. Worrying about anything.
Yeah, that's what killed my grandfather. My grandfather on my father's side died of having the weak heart valve. So now I have a strong heart valve. I find that a very good thing. Okay, so then the next thing is the immune system. Now, it turns out that when I started drinking Brown's Gas water in 2005, I drank it from 2005 to 2007, and I didn't get sick. And I used to get sick 3 times a winter, like clockwork. I go through lots of boxes of tissues, cold, flu, whatever, and medicine. Not getting sick for 2 winters was amazing. So I decided, okay, this bubbling is good. So I made a particular machine called the ER50, which is it looked like a bunch of plumbing pipes. and I sold thousands of those machines, and I was inhaling on those from that gas, or sorry, not inhaling yet, drinking the water from there up until March of 2016. We'll get to in just a minute. So in any case, people could then bubble the water, put the bubbled water on their skin, drink the bubbled water, or put the gas on their skin. And some absolutely amazing things started to come in from 2007 when I recommended it up until, even now. But until December of 2015, people started asking, can we inhale the gas? And because I knew the gas to be a combustible gas, I would say, no, it's not a good idea. You don't want to have an explosion in your lungs. So I said, and I was wrong. The reason I was wrong was pointed out to me, and I should have known. I should. Again, being an inventor, you get wrong. You're wrong a lot. A customer sent me a video of a Korean hydrogen bar that was using Brown's gas machines, so that people could come in and sit down and put on the cannulas like this, and inhale the Brown's gas like we inhale, or like we go buy a cup of coffee. Okay, and I realized that what I should have known before is that when you mix the gas with the hydrogen with enough air, it becomes non-combustible. There's what they call a lower combustible limit. So if you haven't reached that lower combustible limit, which happens to be 4.7% hydrogen in air, so if the air mixture you're inhaling has less than 4.7% hydrogen, it's non-combustible and absolutely safe. So once I realized that, head slapper time, I realized that, and I apologize. I do apologize to all those thousands of people that I advised not to inhale the gas. I started to, but by that time I was a 24/7 caretaker of my late wife. Right? She got sick, started to get sick, got sicker and sicker, and by December of 2015. She couldn't even roll over in bed without assistance. I had to carry her to the bathroom. She had lost her hair. She was blind. Her organs were failing in various ways. She was an amazing woman, and her quality of life had gone down to almost zero. It was she was able to talk on the computer with her friends and stuff, and that was pretty much all the joy she got in life anymore, because she had been a multimedia artist. So being blind and not being able to move just tore the heart right out of her. It was heartbreaking. In any case, for several years, and it continued to March of 2016. In early March of 2016, she told me that she needed to go to the hospital because she couldn't breathe, and I got her to the hospital, and 10 days later she died. So that was a really tough time. And I was grieving. I would have a pain in my chest and realize I had even forgotten to breathe. Like my body's automatic systems were almost shut down just from the depth of the grief. So in any case, I looked over beside me at the machine I had beside the couch on the side table, the ER50, and I remembered that this person had said, "Can we inhale the gas?" As people had been saying, and the one guy had sent me the video. I decided I would hook up the machine and inhale the gas while I was sitting there on the couch, because I pretty much couldn't get off the couch anyway. I was too weak, and I did rig it up to try to be safe, to make sure that I had less than 4% hydrogen in the breath I would be inhaling. But I also videotaped myself that very first time that I inhaled, and that's still on my YouTube channel today,
like a testimonial.
So people can go and look at me in this video here, if anyone's listening to it or watching as a video, and look at the video of me then when I was in grief and inhaling for the first time.
So that's the first time you ever started using it, drinking it, and so you didn't really get the full health benefits until then.
That's correct. But when I was just drinking the Brown's gas or hydrogen-rich water, I just didn't get sick. But all my other ailments continued to get worse. I had neuropathies, like lost a feeling in the palm of my left hand. I had lost a feeling in the fronts of my shins from my knees to my feet. I had tinnitus. I had psoriasis. I had my hair was white instead of darker.
You got gray
coming back
mustache,
gray. Yeah, so there were many things that were wrong with me. I had the heart murmur, exactly, and those things continued to get worse, even though I was drinking the hydrogen-rich water. All those things started to get better. And again, if you go to the eagle-research.life website About Me page, you'll see a list of the things and because I'm not even going to remember all the things.
Oh,
Once
dude,
you're
you got
feeling good,
accolades. You have a whole list of accolades to you. How
yes,
can you
yeah.
remember?
So another thing I just remembered was arthritis in my hands. Now I have full strength and zero pain, and full movement of my fingers in my hands and stuff. So all these things started to get better when I started to inhale the gas. But in any case, I videotaped myself so people could see. I inhaled the gas for about 4 weeks, and some of these things started to get better, and I could see that the gas was safe. There wasn't anybody going to get hurt with the gas. So I try things on myself first before I recommend them, and then I recommend them. So I sent out a letter to all these thousands of people that had the ER50s and let them know that they could inhale the gas if they rigged it up this way that I had, and they would be safe. And they did, and people started to come back with testimonials. One of the testimonials, which I will never forget as long as I live, was a person who had lupus. Now, it turns out that that's what killed my late wife. We fought the lupus for about 10 years as her organs were gradually failing all that time. Uh, and until she reached the point where she died of essentially organ failure. Uh, and this particular woman had lupus symptoms, and she reported that in 3 weeks' time, her lupus symptoms were gone.
That's a short amount of time for something so severe.
For something so severe, now maybe she didn't have as severe a lupus as my late wife did, but
Well, I mean, it isn't what it is. I mean, still.
exactly. So it was severe enough that she knew it was lupus, and her symptoms were gone in 3 weeks' time. So here, that as much as grief was hurting me, at that point, I'd actually been able to start to breathe again. That put me right on the floor because I realized that I had the cure for my late wife in my own shop since 1996. I'd started
Uh,
working with Brown's Gas in 1986, but I'd known about health purposes since 1996, long time before she ever got sick. And in all the time that we were fighting, at that point, I was about $300,000 in debt because we had spent a lot of money on all kinds of things to try to make her well, and I couldn't work. So I spent all our savings. We maxed out our credit cards, had mortgage on the house, everything in order to hopefully get this woman well again. And a person has to realize that when somebody is sick, it isn't just the sick person that suffers; it's the support system that suffers as well. So that's what I was doing. I couldn't do anything else, and so I lost a decade of our lives, and she lost her life because I didn't give her the gas to inhale back when she was starting to get sick. I
uh,
uh, I don't know how to forgive myself for that. I don't. And I was literally on the floor on the rug, couldn't get up, crying. I at first couldn't even cry. I hurt so bad. And the only way that I could finally get up off that rug was to make a deal with myself and God that I would help as many people as possible, not go through that pain and suffering that we did. Those years and years of suffering of illness. At that point, I made it my mission to try to put an, an aqua cure. It wasn't called an aqua cure at that point, but Brown's Gas in every home in the world. And that's what I'm doing.
hey,
So it'll
honestly,
revolutionize health everywhere.
we
Now
appreciate
that,
this, everyone, me and everyone listening. And yeah, this is important. I definitely see this as a revolutionizing technology and vital to humanity. It boils down to the boils right. Boils down to the core of everything, right? It can help our dogs. It can help our plants. It can help everything that's made of hydrogen, which is literally everything. Yeah,
yes.
we
And there's
appreciate this.
factors that we haven't even talked about yet.
And so,
check.
would we like to talk about that at after the break? It's been about an hour.
Okay,
Go ahead.
let's do that.
Right on. I'm gonna go ahead and play some songs, and we'll go ahead and take a break real quick.
Gonna go far, that's what we on the run for, go hard. Sipping gin while we sitting, spitting those bars. Getting rich, got a vision, get the show cards. Lot of money laying around cause we go hard, always go hard. Spitting fire, see the sonar, hope they resonate with the vibe. Feel like Mozart, really I'm alive in my soul, feel like Mozart. That's what hoes are, too explosive so I show art. Yeah, I make art, sad to see people with no heart. I work to replace all of the negative, I go far with it. I'ma show all of these bitches, no complaining if you with it. Don't you dream me, see the vision, need my energy, the mission. Really take all my precision. Every single day I picture where I'll be the day we get it. Feed the brothers, feed the fam. I don't really give a damn. I don't wanna get famous, I wanna lend a hand. Give the cash and rubber bands to the people always standing on my side, always down the ride. Say I planned it, I'm the guy, like the supersized on the planet. In my mind, I don't gotta try, I already have it. I'll be doing damage, I was born a savage. In my mind, I already died, living lavish. Heaven is a state of mind, be glad if you have it. Living in a simulation, be patient to grab it. Universe will bring it to you if you ain't an average. If you live an average, then Satan's bound to manage your life. I'm just trying to tell you if you gonna roll the dice, gamble in your life instead of living precise. I ain't perfect, but I'm gonna earn it. No, it don't concern anybody but my person. Lesson that I learned is that people are gonna burn. Anything you do, they gonna pay the price. Nothing nice come in life for the dipshits. They just wish shit, never gonna manifest it. Never catch me resting, short-term blessings. I just want my brain to work so I can write my next hit. Ignite the blessings, manifest my life, never question a moment in my life. I be knowing that it's meant to be, this my destiny. All the rest of my life really history. The day that I'm finally gone, they'll be missing me. Your position be the reason that I'm gone. 200 songs done, I've been on the run. I ride a wave, make a way, I'm the one. I stay the same, but I'm changing a ton. Rearranging my brain for the gains through the sun. I've been absorbing the light, I could say that I won. At least I'm conscious of what I'm doing, praying a ton. Relay all the information, staying patient with the shit. I write a hit just to get through all the shit. I ain't a bitch, so I'll make it. I ain't dealing with a prick, I'm finna take over the game. Really, I'm getting in, I'm really glad that you're here to witness it. I'm about to fix entire rap game. You could call it magic like a trick. Classic with the way I spit it. They be clapping when it hits. I be snapping on this shit. I've been rapping, feeling lit.
Oh, hold on. Hey, hello, how's it going?
It's going good.
All right. So we're back, and I just was thinking about how you're mentioning how this is boiling some liquid, and then there's gas that rises, and sometimes this gas might heal. And I was just doing some deep consciousness dives in my mind and soul and spirit, and I was like, that sounds mighty familiar to what's going on in the pyramids and what might be there, because I hear about how now just recently in the last 10 to 20 years there's some huge discoveries down in Mexico and down Central America about these pyramids and the chambers that they're finding, and how inside these chambers it just gets really crazy where it goes in all these different directions. There's these rooms in certain patterns and different colors, and then some of these rooms have gases, and then I correlate that with what we already know about the Giza pyramids, how they're like, hey, there's water channels underneath the pyramids, and it electrifies and causes energy, and then I'm like putting it together with what you just said. I'm like, this might just be what's happening. I think the ancients knew about this, and I think you're upon the knowledge that the ancients knew. I see when I talk about the ether and who we are, the spirit, like I get pretty deep in my own way in my podcast, and we pick up energy and knowledge just by living and being in that high state of mind, or thinking of trying to focus in a higher intellectual manner. These things come to us, and what sometimes the technologies just may be some ancient technology that's just been passed down through the ether through us. And I think what you are doing is right there, sir. Honestly, I really kind of put it together with what's going on in the pyramids. No other way to say it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on out there. First of all, that ancient civilizations knew thousands of years ago. I think there's been 7 different civilizations that they've discovered so far. We're just the latest iteration, and some of them built these huge structures that were, it seems, energy generating systems. Like the people can even build small pyramids and put food in them, and the food will be preserved for long periods of time for whatever effects that's having, energetic or not. But they've also determined that the pyramids can put out streams of energy, directed energy, and a lot of that can be measured with what's called electrons. So you're measuring the amperage movement, and you can measure it in the streams. The streams do a lot of that kind of energy movement, as well as other different kinds of energy. Water can absorb and give energy of so many different kinds, like emotional energies, spiritual energies, magnetic energies. All of these kind of energies can be put into water and then taken out of water. And the various life energies, actual life energies. I was just watching a video this morning of Luc Montagnier, who was the Nobel Prize-winning virologist that found the AIDS virus. And some of the experiments that he was doing was transmitting sound waves that he had recorded from a DNA. So he had a test tube with certain DNA sample in it, and he would record essentially the energy or sound from that, and then transmit it over a telephone line to another test tube that had pure water in it. Pure water, nothing else. And the DNA that was in that first test tube would start to appear in the second test tube that had nothing but pure water. Yeah. Pretty amazing. So water can do a lot of those sort of things, and a lot of the health and healing that we need comes from electrons, which it turns out that these pyramid shapes concentrate energy, and you get more energy for and from whatever's going on, the radiant energy and stuff that our body needs as well. Oh, by the way, when you're thinking of the radiant energy, that also increases the what they call that easy gel we were talking about before, the H3O2. When you have radiant energy, infrared, on you, it increases that layer of H3O2. So it's one of the reasons why, if you're taking a sauna or an infrared bath, you get the those extra healthful layer. It helps the blood circulation, energy buildup. It turns out that actually is like a battery in the body as well, because on the one side of the easy zone is negatively charged, and then out in the ambient fluid, it's more positively charged. So there's actually like a battery formed throughout your entire body. So energetically, this, in addition to helping the blood circulate, so all your tissues get the right amount of oxygen and get the things carried away, carbon dioxide and stuff that your body needs to take away, you're getting this energetic ethereal being, if you will, all around you. You're energized.
Like an aura boost.
Yeah, exactly. So the electrons in the electrically expanded water. So you got water that has soaked up electrons till it's become a gaseous form of water. When you inhale that with the hydrogen, you get a boost, because people who are ill usually have depleted energy systems, like their reserves, depleted energy reserves, and their energy generation systems have become compromised in various ways. So they're not making as much energy as they need, and their reserves have been taken away. So it turns out that the Brown's gas gives about a 30% more, is about 30% more therapeutically efficacious than just straight hydrogen. Straight hydrogen is good. Many people will get results from just supplementing with hydrogen, but if you have the Brown's gas, you'll get a boost, because hydrogen itself does nothing. It kills nothing. It's totally inert. Interesting enough, it's like I call it the God molecule, or the God atom, because it's the first atom that forms out of the ether, if you will, and everything else gets formed from that. But it's relatively inert. It really doesn't do anything until something is done to it, if you will. So think of what I think of as hydrogen in our bodies. Our body is 62% hydrogen, but I think of it as a building brick or a building block. Virtually everything in our body is either built from or uses hydrogen in one way or another. All the chemical processes, all the tissues, everything. So the body knows where to put the hydrogen or the building block. So if you had a pile of bricks, somebody has to know how to put the bricks to make a brick house. The body knows how to do that. But you can't put the bricks from the pile to make the house without energy. So it takes energy to move the hydrogen around and put it where it belongs and do the stuff with it. So you need the with the Brown's gas, you get the hydrogen and energy at the same time. Now there's lots of other ways of putting energy in the body, and one of them would be with pyramids. If people built a pyramid in their house, or how some people even have a pyramid-shaped house, they will get more energy from the environment. The ambient energy in the environment becomes concentrated in what you call sacred geometry forms like that. So that's an important thing as well. All of these technologies tend to.
I did hear something about putting a copper pyramids in your soil, and your plants would increase. But just the energy would just would make everything just boost.
I'm sure that it would. Yes, it would increase the energy in the soil, which increases the microbiome and all of that.
And
Plus,
the copper is powerful.
Trace amounts of copper is a good thing as well. The other thing is you could make a greenhouse that's shaped like a pyramid and do really well there. It'd be a very energy efficient greenhouse as well, because the upper part of it would be a smaller size, so that there'd be less heat loss, and you'd still have a wide surface on the bottom.
I mean, a teepee isn't really a pyramid; it's kind of a cone, but similar, the same idea, right?
Yes. Good energy efficient design. Yes, for a home. So it's important to get the electrons, and you can get them even if you're like they call it earthing, where you can walk with barefoot on the ground or in sand, and you get electrons coming into your body. But if you're in your home and supplementing, one way to do that is just with the inhalation of the Brown's gas. I'm just letting you know. So one of the things I wanted to point out was, since I'm only one person, what I'm intending to do, and I'm almost done, I'm weeks away from having it finished, is make it what I call a manufacturer's course. And unlike my previous things where I would just write a book or a manual on how to make whatever fuel saver or Brown's gas machine, which, by the way, people can still go to my website. That's the eagle-research.com website, and buy the books and videos and see what I've been doing with alternative energy and fuel savers and Brown's gas, and duplicate those things themselves. But in addition to that, I'm making a course on how to build an AquaCure. Now, the AquaCure is my latest Brown's gas machine that I'm selling and worldwide, sold many thousands of them. But I'm only one person. Now, I have a team of people that are helping me build them. But again, it's only just one location, one manufacturing spot. And one thing that it's tough in a new business to have is technicians. Now, imagine if all the cars in the world were built in one location, let's say Detroit, and sold from Detroit out all around the world, and one of them breaks down in Japan or the United Kingdom, Australia, and they have to send the car back to Detroit to get it fixed. That wouldn't be very efficient, would it?
Well,
But that,
that's a very dark area to begin with, so yeah, it wouldn't really be very efficient.
so in any case, that's what's happening with my machines right now. If one of them breaks down, now I build them not to break down. That's one of the things I learned back on the ranch, because actually I'm a lazy person and
I
I
hope
don't
you're
like
not Detroit, sir. I don't think you're Detroit, so
I'm not Detroit. I lived near Niagara
yeah.
Falls, so that's much better.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you're more like Buffalo right now. They're really on that next level. Hey, you're right near that AWS hydrogen system that the security guard got shot
Yes.
over in his car though,
Yes.
because
Yes. That's
yeah.
true too. Uh, yeah, that's another one of those suppression stories that just adds to the list. There's a mountain of them.
Well,
So
I think it's more in the car industry that they're kind of worried that they're really just like mob status. Maybe,
I
probably.
need to look into that more. So in any case, what I'm getting to is that there needs to be technicians in every country, and there really should be manufacturers in every country. So I'm making a course that teaches people. It's $10,000, and they can learn everything they need to know to build the aquacures in their own home, and then they can sell them to enhance plant combustion, or sorry, growth. You don't want to burn the plants; you want to help them grow. So you
Well, I
and
combust plants, when they're dried.
yes, that's
Yeah,
right. I've
that's
seen you combust them, right? Just yes, sometimes it's appropriate.
oh yes.
So in any case, the idea would be then that they can serve their local communities. We can have hundreds or thousands of mini manufacturers out there, instead of like having an Elon Musk gigafactory. We could. I don't need to be a multi-billionaire. I'm fine with what I have. I have a mortgage that I can pay, and I have my vehicles and everything, and I have everything I need. I'm not going to take any of it with me when I leave this planet, so why have more than I need?
Yeah, that's a stone cold narcissist. Who wants
Yes.
everything.
And I don't want to control anybody. Like these people, they have so much money, they don't know what to do with it. Then they go into this global technocrat control mechanism where they want the world to be their playground, I guess, or something. But in any case,
I mean, they're just handed the keys, and then partly they're creating something with those keys, in a new room.
so my intention is to go ground roots, have people in their own homes building these things all over the world, and done. Then it's not just me, and thousands of more machines get built. The whole technology rises right from the ground. That's my intention.
That's a blessing. I'm
And
I'll be
anyone who
I'm down to
wants,
be part of it. I'm willing to go ahead and take that workshop. Learn how to make something like this. This is fascinating.
yes. And a nice thing about it is that even if there's a lockdown, it's an essential business, so people don't have to close their business doors. They because it's a health business, right?
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah.
Hey, that's also one of the things that my podcast is very heavily on, and so it fits right in with me. I'm big on health, and health is key.
Yes, that's right. If you
Health
don't
is
have your
me.
health, you pretty much have nothing. And I can attest to that personally.
Yeah, I mean, no, like legitimately, like I was just having a conversation about it with the Big Dumb podcast, Kyle, yesterday. How it seems like there's a zombification where there's all these GMOs and all these systems flooding the human body to the point where it's destroying the anatomy, it's destroying the connections, the energy inside of it. The systems are shutting down, and so it's through the GMO modification and whatever this freaking America dark shit is, what's doing to the body, right? And so yeah, if your health isn't on point, if you're like not taking care of what you're putting inside of you and around you, and I mean it goes beyond that, right? But that's one part of it. uh yeah, you lose everything. You don't have any control of yourself. Sometimes it feels like you see in and bigger states and cities, and their homelessness, drug addicted problems. It's like they're very unhealthy and they are not themselves. Like they don't have themselves. Their consciousness and them are not there's no connection.
That's right. They do things they don't necessarily want to do, uh, just because that's the only way they can keep life going on in their body, because they're just
Well, there might be
It's
some
really sad.
parasitic entities that might be part of it, that are,
Mm.
that we just don't see, some multidimensional aspects that are, over time, over a couple thousand years, our eyes lost the sight, to see.
Yes, that is true as well. There's lots of entities that are among us and in us in a lot of cases where people will have invited them in one way or another, and reside. So there's a lot of negativity going on out there as well. That's true. It's
Right. I mean, it's been that way for thousands of years, through the scriptures and through humanity. So I mean, it's just up to us to understand who we are and how to control our health and how to maintain ourselves. And if we don't, these entities got it. They
yeah.
they got us like a little mannequins.
So that's a good point where people should do a little bit of study to find out how to protect themselves energetically from infestations like that. One of the best things that my father did was take me to judo class, and they taught me how to fall. So when I get flipped off a horse or a bicycle or whatever the case may be, or trip and fall, I can roll, I can fall well, so I don't hurt myself.
But that
And
also teaches you your kinetic, your electrical, your spiritual energy to also do the same thing. Even if you're not falling physically, it's memory within you on all these different multidimensional levels to just get right back up.
and that was exactly where I was going. So like the physical judo, there's mental and spiritual judos as well, so that when people learn these various techniques, they become very resilient, uh, and and they can't be hurt, or it's much harder to hurt them because they avoid the situations or flow past the situations that could actually hurt them. They become aware of, and I think that's a really good idea. If people look into the various ways of making themselves mentally and spiritually protected as well, then you can get on with your life without getting hurt. It's a really good idea. Yes.
Yes, the unification of mind, body, and spirit is very vital to our future, and maintaining our health and well-being and focus and spirit.
Yes, absolutely. So part of it's nutrition and getting back to water.
Yes, let's go ahead and get back to the water. Water, splash.
Well, it turns out that water has something. There is water that comes out of the ground that they call primary water, which is water that has been formed in the ground, and it's essentially new water that hasn't been doesn't have all these memories attached to it, all the different kinds of things that can happen with water. Like I was talking about Luc Montier's experiments, where any water can be given the information it needs to form something else. And I learned about this at first way back when I was quite young, in my 20s, and I was working as a prospector, as I mentioned earlier. There were prospectors that were saying there are creeks that have placer gold that have no mother lode. In other words, there's no place where the gold is coming from. They can clear all the placer out of the gold out of the creek, and a couple, 3 years later, they can go back and there's more gold. Where's it coming from? Well, it turns out there's a thing called transmutation, and it happens naturally, not only in nature, but in our bodies as well. Now, another way that transmutation happens as far as the Brown's gas is concerned is if you cook an ore, like a copper ore. This has been proven, done. You cook the ore with the Brown's gas, you get 3 times more copper from it than you do with the when you have just the regular ore. When you process the regular ore in the processing plant, you get a certain amount of copper per ton, and if you cook it with the Brown's gas, you get 3 more times the copper per ton that you would have without cooking it with the Brown's gas. And what I do is I look at it and I say, okay, everything to make, like if you're baking a cake, for example, everything, the ingredients you need to make the copper are in that ore, but the Brown's gas provided the energy to finish the process, finish the cooking, if you will. So that was a transmutation kind of effect. There were a couple of other things that happened as well, where the new water was being formed. Now, if you have Brown's gas and it's got a flame, it will, the ashes of the flame is water. You got your hydrogen, oxygen, it goes back to water. Now, if you take that water and store it, save it, and collect it, save it, and store it, that's new water. Water that has no memory. It's water that formed directly from hydrogen and oxygen. So it wasn't water. It didn't have a previous memory. It had been split apart and all that erased in it. And now it's new water. And new water can form minerals. And there was a fellow named Norman Wooten and Joseph Bender in Rainfresh. Joseph Bender's company was called Rainfresh, and Norman Wooten was an inventor working with Joseph. And they collected a bunch of this water, and they put it in a jar that was sitting on a window shelf. And next to that jar was a jar of mineral. Back in the day, they had these little drinks that you could take a shot glass of this mineral mixture and drink it, and that's how you get your minerals, supposedly. And there were 50 different minerals in that solution that the people were drinking. Now the sun was shining in the window through the minerals and in onto the new water, and the new water started to form sediment, a white sediment. And they eventually got about 10 ounces of sediment out of that new water. Now remember, that water had never been anything but hydrogen and oxygen, H2O. And yet, when they analyzed that sediment, they found all 50 of those minerals in that sediment. So the water literally turned into these minerals. And I have a similar thing that happens in all the Brown's gas machines, like the AquaCures. But back in the day, there was this one chiropractor that was using one of my water torches in his practice for at least 8 hours a day. And every year he would come and have me clear the sludge and the sediment out of his machine. Now, he'd only ever put distilled water in. So where did all this sludge and sediment come from? Now, it turns out when we analyzed it, it was exactly the same materials as the stainless steel plates that I was using as the electrodes in the machine. Now, when we started the machine, when it was new, it had 19 pounds of plates. And when we measured them after the third clean out, it still had 19 pounds of plates. The plates themselves hadn't degraded. But we had, coincidentally, 19 pounds of this heavy metal sludge that had come out of the machine. We analyze it, and all the materials that make stainless steel, the iron, the nickel, the chromium, all those kind of things, were in that sludge. They'd never been put into the machine with the distilled water that was putting into the machine, but they formed inside the machine. So there's 3 different ways that Brown's gas has shown transmutation. Now, if you look at things like the Philosopher's Stone and alchemy, that's one of the things that the Philosopher's Stone theoretically could do, was transmutation. So we get back to the primary water. We see water coming up out of the earth that's new, been formed in the earth, and starts to flow over the rocks in the sunshine. And I think it actually makes the gold if it goes over minerals in a certain way, and that's where the gold was coming from. So there's a natural transmutation, as well as we can actually cause transmutation to happen.
Now, this hits on a key topic. You see, for the last couple of years, I've really been into supplementing, getting more and more in tune with it, and I started seeing a whole bunch of topics and conversations on monoatomic gold, monoatomic silver, colloidal gold, colloidal silver. So, going towards you, how would you adapt this to your systems? Have you tried adapting these elements to your systems? Have you tried creating tonics, specifically with your water included with some of these colloidal golds? Or what would you speculate would happen if you did? Or could you speak on that?
Yes, I have, and that's a really good question, and I can't answer it because I don't know. I haven't researched the colloidal silver or gold or the ORMS technologies, so I don't know what would happen if you tried to mix the new water, for example, into those systems, or the Brown's gas flame, or any of that kind of thing as well. It would definitely be something to try, but
probably a positive. I'm thinking.
I can't imagine it being a negative.
I
I'm
definitely couldn't.
Yeah,
it'd be like some supercharged water, like extremely supercharged water.
Yes, Yeah, they do really well with the technologies just the way they are. So if you add this other
These other
technology, it
elements.
should be at least complementary or synergistic. Yes.
Well, look, I'll be honest. So when I hear and see things like potions in video games and how video games reference ancient cults, and how I know that there is cultures around the world, from thousands of years ago, who had alchemy as one of their key things. So in putting two and two together, I'm like, well, they knew how to make tonics, potions. They knew how to make elixirs, which is why these guys lived for hundreds of years. And like maybe they, I'm really seeing it as what it's been, throughout history. Now that I'm hearing it from you, more and more, and I'm getting involved with more of these topics myself. It's pretty fascinating. They were definitely on these higher dimensional technologies. We see it with the pyramids. So understandably, we could say that, hey, if they had a huge pool of this, hydrogen healing technology in their pyramid, then there was probably a portion where they could just scoop up in their water and then sell it out in jars and do all this other stuff, which is what they were obviously doing.
Yes, in the hieroglyphics they have in the pyramids, they actually show, and they found clay jars with the anodes and such in them, so they knew they had electric batteries back in that day, as well as some sort of radiant light fixtures and stuff. It's they chip it into the rocks, so that it left a pictorial record of that type of technology. So they definitely had those sort of things, and more recent experiments. And I won't even I may get back to the Japanese study in just a minute, but there's a bunch of rodent studies that showed that if you have the rodents inhaling a 2% mixture of hydrogen, the minimum lifespan increase, healthful lifespan increase. So it wasn't rodents that were just like arthritic on the ground; they were running around healthfully. Was 30% increase in lifespan minimum, usually around 50% increase. So you can imagine if people were living normally to 80 years old, now they would normally be living to 120. And we do know historically, if you look in the Bible with all the begats and all of that, people were living to be 900, 1,000 years old quite often. So what did they do back then that we aren't doing now? That's a good point. One particular rodent study, it was rats. They actually euthanized the rats because the study ended that they have no idea how long the rats would have lived. They just weren't dying.
Like, hey, we can't keep these things around anymore. We're already 90 years old, man. We've had them for 70. They could
So
outlive
when
us.
you look at things like the Philosopher's Stone, anything you list that the Philosopher's Stone can do, the Brown's gas can do. So if you're looking at extending life, if you're looking at having health, if you're looking at transmuting into gold, you're looking all these different things that the Philosopher's Stone theoretically could do. Who knew that that was just ice? Water. Yes.
That's just fascinating. I mean, this technology has been around for a long time, and you were talking about currents, and I was just thinking about, like, maybe this is how some of the ancients were so well attuned to boating and traveling across the seas, more than just like oh, they knew which wind. It's like, no, maybe they felt the the electricity, the charges, the currents, and the way that the waves and the sea went and the ocean went. That's what I kind of thought automatically. And I was wondering, have you tried much work with crystals or mantras with your technology? So I understand that using certain crystals around water can be beneficial. Even storing water in crystals can be beneficial. I would assume that putting a geometrical pattern around your device um, uh, with powerful crystals would also be very powerful. Also, mantras. I know that you can chant Om and have some very powerful resonance effects with water and other mantras. Have you delved into any of that?
I haven't personally. My late wife was much into those sort of things, where she was charging water energetically with different colors, for example, to get different effects. She had a
Re-
rainbow colors of things. I call her my rainbow girl because she experimented with chakras and those rainbow colors in many different ways. So we were just getting into that sort of thing when she got sick.
That's very powerful, actually. I'm into it. Like, I realize that the colors and the spectrums and emotions, there's something more to what we're seeing than meets the eye. And so with the chakras, it's all in it, yeah, there's definitely something there, much more secretive that these societies know of. And yeah, I mean, it's up to us to meditate and really be peaceful to really get the full picture. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think 10, 15 years ago with a head full of steam really could have understood these concepts, but now I'm like really in a peaceful state where I'm like really seeing it.
yes. One of the problems with science these days, well, there's a couple of problems, but this one in particular, is that the scientists say, if we can't measure it, it doesn't exist. And that is so wrong.
And I,
Science
I, I
should be all about figuring out how to measure something if it's already proven to exist. For example, how do you measure an emotion? How do you measure love? We can measure light in different ways or magnetism, but the auras around a person, the spirituality, the spiritual body, uh, the the various ways that things happen etherically around crystals, they they do happen. It's something that can be seen, but how do you measure it? It's like Newton didn't start thinking about how to measure gravity until he got conked on the head with an apple, but but that didn't stop gravity from existing all of those many millennia before Newton, right? So
Isaac Newton was a fascinating character. I just recently learned that he was heavily into the Egyptian pyramids. He actually had journals upon them, and he had wanted to rebuild Solomon's temple. And we understand Solomon's temple is this entity work, but when we look at the pyramids, it's also this crystal work. The pyramids are made of I wouldn't say crystals, but it's made of stones and certain resonance patterns, and so
yes,
it produces its own unique structure and properties.
yes, yes, and they did things that were incredible. Like the capstone on one of the great pyramids was set down beside the pyramid. It wasn't up on the cap, but as I understand, it was actually made of stone that they've determined came from someplace like Wisconsin. So how did a Wisconsin stone get to Egypt? It's like there's been things going on that we didn't know about. But to bring it full circle around with Sir Isaac Newton, one of the things that he did was uh, examine something called the Bessler wheel, which was a gravity wheel that was made and determined to be working. What that be in the 15th, 16th century, something like that. And again, I have my own little gravity wheel design that I'm working on. So I thought that was interesting how you were saying how he had done all this other research, and he did. His mind was incredible, and he determined that the Bessler wheel did work. Now, it's another one of those suppressed invention kind of things, stories, because the inventor of it didn't want to release it to the world. And unfortunately, that's pretty much what you have to do these days in order to actually get something out there.
Yeah, and these technologies need to be out there. I really think that some of us are kind of chosen, and it's just most people don't believe in themselves enough, and like including me, and like but when they do, things really can be beneficial. But we also got to be careful. Yeah, we can't really like hoard this, or really try to like demonize it. Demonize these things. And I'm glad that what you're doing, it I would be interested to take your workshop, and I would also be very fascinated to go ahead and get more involved with the crystal work and spectrum work. These monoatomics, they call colloidals, these element additions. See, I've been interested in this my whole life, kind of just here and there reading things, but it's been more the last like 5 years has come like full circle. It's really just revolutionizing, and the more that I get into health and fitness, the more that I want to get into crystals and well-being, and like understanding how to like control the frequencies and within me and around me. And this is great. So is there more that we can talk upon?
Yeah,
I'm sure you.
when you're talking about the frequencies, another thing you can do with the Brown's gas is add frequencies to it, because it's been determined there are a lot of healthful things that frequencies can do. Rife, for example, I'm sure you're aware of him, developed a whole spectrum of frequencies to heal just about every ailment known to man. Uh, he discovered, for example, any particular virus or bacteria has a resonant frequency. So if you vibrate the body with that particular frequency, you destroy all those pathogens, those specific pathogens, without hurting anything else, because everything has its own frequency. So that just gives you an idea of what's happening. Plus, we are resonant or frequency beings. Everything is frequency. We see the physical realm, but all it is manifestations of frequency. So if we put frequencies into the healing aspect or energetic aspect of what we're doing, we end up with something even more powerful. So bringing these various modalities together is good. And so I designed the AquaCure machine so that you can change the frequency on the machine to optimize it for any particular ailment or whatever you're trying to enhance. I just wanted to mention that as well. And since I really want to help people and not go through what we did, my late wife and I, because we spent so much money on various machines and apparatus and things that I ended up, they're just stored now because I have no other use for them. They didn't work for what she was doing, and I couldn't return them. I made it so that people can buy an AquaCure machine and use it for a year, and if it's not working for them, they can still return it and get their full purchase price back. So 1 year satisfaction guarantee. And the other thing I've done, just to be sure that the people pay their money once and don't have to worry about it anymore. First of all, I built the machine so that they don't break down to the best of my ability. But if they do break down, I have a lifetime warranty. So the machines will if they do break down for any reason that is a manufacturer's error, I'll pay for the shipping, the labor, and the parts to make sure that they get back a machine that is fully functional at no additional cost to themselves. So these are things that I'm doing to try to help the technology get out there and actually used. Not like people have the machine and then just leave it in a corner kind of thing for one reason or another.
That's awesome. I honestly have been looking forward to getting one. I mean, it kind of costs a bit much, but I'll definitely get one when I can. I'm seeing all these testimonials that you got going on, and this story. This is literally something that flows along with the universe, the ether. Like this sticks to nature. This should resonate with everybody on just an element sense. Like when you hear something about hydrogen or water, it should just resonate with you. Now, whether you're in tune with yourself or not, I don't know, but if you're in tune, it's going to resonate with you. And this has been a fascinating conversation. We're hitting up on the 2 hour mark. We can continue on or call a day. Doesn't really matter, sir. I appreciate this time, honestly.
Yeah, I will need to call it a day. I've got a bunch of other things that I have scheduled that I do need to get to, but I do really appreciate being on your platform and informing as many people as possible about these various things that they can do to help themselves. First of all, in their health, and then in their wealth as well. Some people will be able to have the wherewithal to pay the $10,000 for the course and and make a business out of selling these machines. And I'm doing everything I can to make sure that their business will be successful, independent of me. So if for some reason I'm not able to continue or I retire, the whole Brown's Gas field will continue to grow and expand. So we're making forums, we're making all different kinds of things to help people make their own businesses with this. So one thing I'd like to offer as well is a discount code. We haven't discussed that, have we?
No, you go ahead and share, and I'll definitely post it on my socials. Share this in the info.
Okay. Well, why not we just call it 509 Divine Pines
Roger that.
as the discount code, without any spaces, just 509 Divine Pines. It doesn't matter if it's first caps or all caps or no caps, and we'll call that a discount code for 20% discount. So anybody that wants to buy an AquaCure, which would normally be about $2,500, they'll get $500 off if they use that code when they're going to purchase. I'll send you an email with the details, so they can go. Usually, you go to the eagle-research.life website, and once you have looked around and you decide you want one of these things, give it a try. Then you can just click on the purchase button. It'll take you back to the .com website where you can actually purchase the AquaCure.
And it's down there below. 509
Yep.
Divine Pines coupon code over at Eagle Research, eagle-research.com. It's been an honor, and we appreciate this. The coupon code is a blessing for everyone. You see, I'm very in touch with healing my family, my friends, and I know that if I show this to them and show this to some people, they will definitely think about this and like really go ahead and start looking more into the alternative, and share within a matter of time. It's only going to be a matter of time that more and more people see the truth, see the light, see the power in water. To be honest, like I right here, I've just been drinking Arrowhead mountain water, and right, there we go. So I mean, this is like just a good water. I'm thinking, right? It's mineral based from a spring. I'm thinking, right? So it's better than, what is it? The reverse osmosis. I mean, what's so bad about that? Could you just quickly maybe say?
Yes. Actually, I drink distilled water, which is even purer than reverse osmosis water, and partly because reverse osmosis water is generally using tap water, and tap water still has drugs and hormones and a lot of different things in the water that are not cleaned out. So all this energetic things that have been happening in the civilization, wherever the water came from, all the sickness and health, but various things that are happening in your neighbors around your town, wherever that water is coming from, is all in that water and just keeps getting recycled and concentrated more and more, and isn't cleaned out. Yes, and then they add the things like the fluoride and chlorine and other things that are not good.
So it's like quadruple toxified, because if it's getting tap water, then it's getting sulfates, phosphates. It's getting these added plastifiers. It's wow.
Yes.
That just goes to show how important it is. The water is
right.
important, right?
So what I did is I have a home distiller, and I distill my water, and then I put the Brown's Gas. I infuse the Brown's Gas into the water, and that's what I've been drinking since 2005. And I think I've been doing okay.
You look amazing, sir, for your age, and this has been a blessing, honestly, George. I don't want to take too much more of your time. This has been a fascinating conversation, and maybe we can have you on to talk about other subjects. You're a wise man. It's in your name.
I would love to talk about some of my other subjects, and in hopefully a couple of months' time or so, I may even have this gravity wheel built, and then and if it works the way I think it will, that'll be pretty amazing.
That would be an interesting thing to see on the air, show my viewers. Yeah, that would be fascinating. Hey, this has been wonderful over at the 509 Divine Pines podcast. This has been a talk with George Wiseman, the wise man creating hydrogen with his hand. So go ahead and use the coupon code 509 Divine Pines over at his website, eagle-research.com for 20% off. And we appreciate you, sir. This has been a blessing. Hey, God bless.
Bye.
Hey, you guys heard it. You guys know about it. You guys drink it every day, water, and how it can heal you. Hey, this has been a fascinating flow of conversation. It went into many different topics, but that's the way the ether is. That's the way the water is. That's the way the universe is. The universe is like water, and in some essence, we know that we're made of 70%, like 60 some percent water. 70% is around the world. If we look up, there's water. You know, speculatively, these NASA people and these space people are actually diving into water up there. And when we go down, it's water. And even below the water, there's more water. So water's everywhere, man. And it's very important to drink the right water. And now, when we evolve through these technologies like our phone in our hands, don't let this be the stop. Don't let this computer be the stop of the technology, the evolution. We're like, yeah, humans are getting so smart with this technology, and then they stop there. And it's like, what technology? What, you have a phone and you have a computer? No, there's more to it. There's light technology, there's water technology, there's sound technology. There's a lot that is coming out these days, and this is one of the technologies that you guys should get into. I've loved this conversation, and today was a good hydration for your soul. Am I right? You guys have a wonderful day. Make sure to use my coupon codes over at Tweedle Farms, 509 Divine Pines for 20% off hemp, CBD, tinctures, oils, vapes. They literally got everything. They're homemade. They started from scratch. They get seeds from certain cultivars that they're like really fascinated on like the society, like through they got like some good cultural strains, through these hemp that, like, I'm no other way to say it. They're homegrown. Use the coupon code 509 Divine Pines for 20% off your order. And visit boomerboost.com for 10% off using coupon code 509 Divine Pines 10 off. They have well-being products, vitamins, nutrients. They got the right concoctions of supplements. They are wonderful. I've been using them for 2 years, and literally, dude, my body is nutritious. Like, no other way to say it. Like, I can feel everything in my body like kind of working, and it's been a blessing to have them. Like, literally, these guys are making my family think about these things a little bit more. And so if I can take it back home and have some results internally and externally showing some people, then I know you can too. And hey, last but not least, go ahead and use the coupon code 509 Divine Pines at eagle-research.com for 20% off your order with the hydrogen healing system. And we'll definitely have a better ad read for that next time. And so just look into it. It costs pretty penny. He's offering courses. So there's more to it than just a device. This website and technology is going to be abundant, and you can take it home. You can learn how to do it yourself. Go ahead, check it out. You guys have a wonderful day. This has been 509 Divine Pines. Peace, blessings. Take care.
Meditating, analyzing everything I see, so I see new horizons. Took the acid, feeling blasted in my brain, so I've been sitting up inside it, thinking about the present and the future. I'm improving cause I am a trooper, never getting caught up in the loop. Got up out it cause I found the truth. Woke up to a beauty of the day, yeah, the sun is shining, so I'm finna stay. Sitting, soaking up all of the rays, till I feel it surging through my brain like some booger sugar. Did a lot of cane, experimented with it, couldn't name all the times I did it, feeling like a fade. Yeah, I'm really glad that I let it go, cause I gotta be prepped for the time when the plane ride is a new norm. So I know I'm gonna stay high, blaze on the ganja, feeling like I make my music go to another level while I take off. I can't ever stop this, fell in love with it, fit like a glove, so I'm never ever done with it. So now I'm about to rip another beat, ayy. One day I'll make a million in a week, yeah, shooting for the top spot, feel like I'm a hot shot, like I really got a chance with it. I will not flop, somebody gonna make it dance when I pop off, gonna have all the bitches taking all the tops off. I've been feeling like I'm really gonna kill it for the rest of my life, so I've been staying focused. In my soul, I've been feeling like $1 million, so I know that everything is really getting closer. Yeah, no posers, only been hanging with the ones I've chosen. Only all the people that are living in the right way, cause they spending every day growing. Yeah, no whole shit coming in my life and then leaving in a moment. That's the shit I'll never let into my life again, cause lately I've been feeling like I'm golden. Never showboat, I just showcase on my music that I made this far. Always knew that I could be the one that would get this far. Now I'm right here looking in my mirror, trying to figure out if there's any more fear, cause I'm getting rid of it all, yeah. Yeah, I'm getting rid of it all. Meditating, analyzing everything I see, so I see new horizons. Took the acid, feeling blasted in my brain, so I've been sitting up inside it, thinking about